Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the alumni panel. We'll just wait a couple of moments, just wait for everyone to dial in. I know that you're probably all still connecting to your audio. Okay, perfect. I think we have everyone here. So welcome everyone, and again, a big congratulations to you all on your offer of place. I hope that you've been enjoying the experience events that have the sessions that have been held this week. For those who don't know me, my name is Mandeep Mahal, and I'm one of the recruitment managers in the recruitment team. And I'm delighted to be joined by some of our alumni who you'll get to hear from in terms of their insights and their experiences of how they found the Oxford MBA and how it's helped them with their career. So what we'll do is I'll turn over to our alumni for some introductions. So if we start in terms of the order that we have on the slide. So Isadora, if I can come to you first.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. Congratulations on getting the offers. I'm Isadora. I'm originally from Brazil. Before the Oxford MBA, I worked at Google in Brazil for about 5 years in the office in São Paulo. Did the MBA in the class of 2018, 2019, so right before the pandemic, which feels a lifetime ago. Right after I graduated, I moved to London, where I'm currently based, and I was a product owner at Yoox Net-a-Porter, so luxury commerce, for about a year and a half. And then moved to PA Consulting, where I am currently as a digital strategy consultant. So yeah, that's me.
Great, thank you, Isadora. And I think we've got Sunny. So Sunny, if I could turn over to you for an introduction.
Hey, congratulations, everyone. Sorry for joining in, it's a bit late and got some technical issues. So my name is Sunny. I'm currently a senior program manager at Amazon. Graduated in class of 2019-2020, which is like the hotspot of COVID times. Before joining Oxford, I was in India working for a large conglomerate, Tata, in their strategy, supply chain, and also data science division. I worked there for 4.5 years and then decided to take a triple jump, both outside of the country as well as my industry. After Oxford, I joined KPMG, where I was working with the strategy and ops team, and also the data science team in Dubai. So quite an adventure there. And then after that, I decided to move back to London, currently working as with Amazon as senior program manager. So happy to answer questions related with triple jumps or specific niche people who are looking to move into more like analytics or something similar. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Sunny. And then Sabrina, we hand over to you.
Hi, everyone, and huge congratulations. And hi, Sunny, great to see you again. My name is Sabrina Bainbridge. I'm originally from the United States, and I'm currently still based there, but I travel back and forth quite a bit. My work is based out of Nairobi, Kenya, so I'm actually calling in from Kenya today, and I've been here for about past month now. Prior to the MBA, I was working in project management, as well as doing social impact consulting, freelance on the side, just something as like a hobby project, but really enjoyed that. And post MBA, I am actually working in impact investing now. So I'm working specifically in gender finance. So I'm designing a gender fund based out of Nairobi, Kenya for Plan International. And I'm the senior impact investment associate. So we're creating an incubator as well as designing our own blended finance fund. So really made a huge pivot, moved into finance from project management, and could not be more thankful to Oxford for allowing me to make that move. So really excited to chat with you all today. Thanks, Mandeep.
Thank you, Sabrina. And Tofunmi, we come to you next.
Sure, thanks, Mandeep. Hi, everyone, and congratulations, just echoing everyone's good wishes for you. I was a stage 1 admit as well, so I know the feeling of like getting your admission early and waiting till forever till you resume. So well done, guys. So I'm Tofunmi, I'm from Nigeria, and I'm based in Nigeria now. Before the MBA, I worked in a boutique consulting firm in Nigeria where I did social impact consulting. So mostly worked for governments and donor organizations. And then after that, I did the MBA in 2020. So I came right inside of COVID. People keep asking me, why did you go to your MBA during COVID? But I'm like, oh well. So I did my MBA during COVID. And then after the MBA, I worked briefly at Essential in the UK as a strategy and pricing manager. And then after that, I moved to Coca-Cola in Nigeria here. And I work now there as a strategy manager. within Coca-Cola. So nice to chat with all of you, and happy to answer any questions you have today.
Perfect, thank you. And then last but certainly not least, Alejandro.
Hi everyone, congratulations on the acceptance. My name is Alejandro Arroyo. I just graduated, well, just finished this past September, so very fresh. I am originally from Mexico, and before my MBA, I was working at Fjord, which is Accenture's innovation arm, although now it's called Accenture Song. So, but innovation and brand are my backgrounds. And now I am in London. So I moved to London, and I just started my job like about 2 months ago. I'm at EY Parthenon, and I am part of the customer and growth strategy team. So trying to help with my brand and innovation skills in the world of strategy consulting.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So, so for our audience today, please do use the Q&A function to submit your questions to our alumni, and we will get through those. So, but to get us started, I've got a couple of questions. So in fact, I think this is a question that I would ask for the whole panel, which is, what made you choose Oxford over other schools? So, in fact, we can come, if we go back to the start, so Isadora, actually, it'd be great to hear from you first.
Yeah, of course. So I was very sure that I wanted a school that wouldn't just give me that business school kind of isolation. So I wanted to be kind of in that environment of intellectual stimulation, which sounds very pretentious, but I just wanted a full experience that would get me out of the business school. So I knew that I wanted to make that triple jump as well. So I wanted to change industry, I wanted to change geography, and I wanted to be surrounded by, I think, the maximum of opportunities that I could. And Oxford was always a dream ever since I was a little girl back in Brazil. And then knowing that I would be able to study in a business school that would give me that kind of world-class education, but in an environment that's so rich as the University of Oxford, and it is very, very rich. I think every single day was just packed with so many options and so many different interesting things to do. So that's what I was after. I was also very interested in the focus in social innovation and social impact. So that was definitely a plus for me.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'm not sure who wants to take that question second.
Sorry,
Okay.
do you mean me? Yeah.
Yes,
So yeah,
great, thanks, Vinny.
I'll try to provide a more, like, because I was consultant, so I'll like provide like consulting answers. So broadly, when I was like thinking through, I was applying to a couple of schools, but my criteria overall was, kind of consistent across. So heads up, I also got into Cambridge, but I didn't choose it for a couple of reasons. So first, I was like, I had three main reasons why I was gonna choose a school. First, I wanted the school which is like not just a business school outside the university. It should be integrated in a broader university environment. So and Oxford was like at the center point for it. So that was the second reason I was like really excited about Oxford was because I was like slightly clear on what I wanted. So I wanted to develop my career basically coming from non-data background. I wanted to develop something into more like analytics. And not a lot of people do that, but I was actually reviewing the curriculum, and some of the courses I found like really fantastic. And I think people who have, in the same class, they know about the course, the art and science of graduation versus correlation, the famous professors, and then Oxford at the centerpiece also have a couple of things like the Oxford Center for Sciences and Incubation, the Oxford Foundry. So all of these, they create like a good ecosystem if you really want to pivot your career in that direction. And then finally, I would say the admissions committee was very generous in terms of the scholarships. So, and, coming from an MBA, coming from a background where you need to take, additional financial assistance, that was just very, very supportive. I mean, if it wasn't for the generous support of Oxford, I would have never made it to SAID. So yeah, those were my reasons.
Okay, thank you. Sabrina.
Yeah, definitely. I think echoing Isadora and Sunny, one of the big perks of Oxford is really just it's a really full-rounded experience. It's more than just what's happening in the classroom, and I got that vibe more than anywhere else I interviewed. I think for me, Oxford, I applied to Oxford and then I mostly applied to US-based schools just because that's where I'm from and there's a lot of MBA programs in the States. And every time I interviewed at a different school in the US, it just didn't feel quite right for me. There are a couple different reasons. And then when you got to Oxford, one, I think like just noticing the other people that were in the interview stages, going to the events, like in the potential panels and just engaging as like, this is who I want my network to be. These are the people that I want to engage with after school. And these are the people I could see being like, not only just business connections, but also lifelong friends. And then when you look at the faculty list, it's like, for lack of a better word, pretty stacked. Like there's amazing professors at Oxford that are lifelong mentors now. I still talk to them frequently. And, you know, it extends so much more than that time that you're actually on campus. And I know Sunny and I can speak to that very definitely because ours got cut a little bit short on the on-campus piece. But you know, I think that's just the beautiful thing about Oxford is the alumni are amazing and helpful. And it's this whole ecosystem that you become a part of and not just what happens in that one year. And I think that came across authentically even before I accepted my offer. And then finally, you're not going to get a more international experience in the MBA than at Oxford. And, you know, the world's getting more global, business is global. And if you really want that exposure, Oxford, we had people from 64 different countries represented in our cohort, and that's just pretty amazing. So I think those are really my big deciding factors.
Great, thank you, Sabrina. And yes, I think in terms of like the lifelong network that you're going to make at Oxford, I know that's something that really stands out, and we can speak about that a bit more. Okay, great. Tiffany, if we can come over to you next.
Sure, thanks, Mindy. I think everyone has given virtually all the great points to go to Oxford, but I think for me, the key thing for me was the fact that Oxford wasn't only a business-focused business school. Right, which is kind of like, you know, counterintuitive. They're a business school, but they focus on social impact as well, on leadership, and those are very big for me, especially because my background is in social impact consulting. So it was important for me to also not only be learning about business, but also keep my impact side, you know, close to my heart. And so that was very key for me because it was embedded in the program. I think the second thing for me also was definitely because it was within University of Oxford. I mean, who would say no to Oxford, right? So Saeed was a part of Oxford, and for me, that was like a no-brainer of like, I get the business school experience as well as the Oxford, the college experience, which was really critical for me. I think the third thing as well was also in terms of the international exposure, both in countries as well as people from different aspects of life. I had classmates that were like sportsmen, had people that were from the army, had people that were musicians. So I had like diverse sets of, you know, people within my class, and that was critical for me. And I think the last point for me as well was Said is very Africa friendly. So they have like a quota or a target for like the percentage of Africans that would be there. So for me, I was sure that I would go to business school and not feel like isolated, or because I was just one African in the midst of like everyone. We had like a good number of Africans within the class, and that was important for me as well. While I was going to be away from home, I also wanted to be connected in some way. And so those were critical points for me for why I chose Oxford.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then Alejandro.
Gosh, all of the above. Honestly, I mean, it's just no, but seriously though, I think like I mean, you all mentioned the exact same reasons why I chose Oxford. I will add just one thing, and it may sound silly, but I think to me at least was very important. It's a beautiful place. Like it is really a beautiful, magical place, and I mean, you get inspired. Honestly, you walk down campus, you walk, I don't know, through the parks, and you get it. You understand why people were so inspired and were so creative and like literally like changed the world, because it is a place, you know, that just does that to you. So yeah, I mean, I visited it and I fell in love with it, and I saw myself there, and I mean, it definitely lived up to the expectation.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And yes, Oxford is, I can vouch, it is a beautiful place. So thank you, everyone. It was great to hear some similar sort of themes in terms of thinking about the university as a whole. So it's not just the business school, it is the University of Oxford. And there was a couple who mentioned about colleges. So in fact, the collegiate system, the college experience is something that's really valuable and certainly going to add time, add that value, to your experience here at Oxford. So in fact, it'll actually be great just to hear from everyone about their college experience. And I suppose in terms of advice and how you went about applying for colleges. So I know for a lot of for our admits, they're starting to think about colleges. They're probably getting bogged down by a lot of research. So in fact, if we come to you, Alejandro, first, can you just speak about your college experience? And if you could let us know which college it is that you were a member from and how you went about the college process.
Well, my college was St. Hugh's College, so I'm a member of St. Hugh's, and I so the selection, basically you choose your preferred option, and then then you wait and hear if you get in or not. I didn't choose St. Hugh's originally. I was placed there, and honestly, I'm actually really happy that I was placed at St. Hugh's. I had a wonderful time. I was lucky enough to live within the college grounds, so that actually made a big difference as well, because I was very close to, well, the dining hall, the library, but also close to other students, and had a really lovely MBA community there. We're very famous for our gardens. We have beautiful gardens, so we spend a lot of our time there. But more than that, I think I tried to get more involved with the college in many ways. I actually tried out rowing, and I did that for 2 terms, and it was incredible. I had a great time, and again, it's one of those experiences where you meet people from not just all over the world, but people that are doing something completely different, right? Like that they are very, wise and smart about like a very particular field of study, and the conversations that you have are just incredible. But overall, I just had a really pleasant time there, and I mean, if you're thinking about choosing St. Hugh's, highly recommend it.
Okay, great, thank you. Sabrina, if we can hear about your college experience.
Sure. So I was in Green Templeton College, which is a graduate only, and is very heavily MBA. There's a lot of MBAs that usually go into that. So my first selection process, to be completely candid, I used to work with secondary students. So my first filter was grad only. I really just wanted to be around graduate students after spending a lot of time working with 18, 19-year-olds who are amazing, wonderful young adults. I did not want to live with them. So that was my first preference just for me as well. So it was kind of like my first filter. And then really looked at like what were the other offerings. So Green Templeton had a lot of MBAs, but also has a really strong science focus, which I'm a huge science dork. So my actual undergrad was in biochemistry, molecular biology. So that was a really fun, just like Alejandro was saying, you spend time meeting these people in different disciplines. So for me to go to college dinner and get to talk to a biomedical engineer who's studying X-ray technology at the same point in time where you're learning about like vaccine theory and all this stuff was just really, really cool. So yeah, it was just a really nice fit. And it was also fun to have an additional way to bond with some of my MBA classmates outside of the classroom.
Great, thank you. Sunny, if we can hear about your college experience.
Yeah, sure. So I initially applied for a different college. I actually applied for Green Templeton, but because it had a lot of MBAs, and I really wanted to be in that graduate ecosystem. But I got Christchurch, which was not at all a bad experience, by the way. So it was lovely. There were 5 MBAs here, and fortunately, one of our advisor, Professor Richard Barker, who previously used to, I don't know if he still teaches, but he taught us accounting. So I really enjoyed that closed environment. So they were like, he would call us to his rooms, and we'll share wine, and then we'll go for the high table dinner. So it was really a great experience, I would say. Christchurch in itself, it's very fancy. So, I used to invite, like, whenever I get those allotments, people for the dinners and all of that. So I really loved my experience. One of the things that really, apart from the fancy part that set Christchurch apart, was that irrespective of you have these MCRs, you have these GCRs, there was like a very, they mix up and the people will come together. It was like a good experience. And the international, as in the percentage of the people who were in Christchurch, it was pretty international. So it felt felt very common ground, felt very welcoming in spite of this being very fancy. So yeah, that was the experience. So.
Okay, thank you. Tiffany, if we can hear about your college experience.
Thanks, Mandy. Although you're calling me after Suni because I'm so jealous of his Christchurch experience. I'm so jealous of Christchurch people. I went there once for one of their programs. I'm like, wow. But anyway, my college experience was kind of a mixed bag because I first applied to go to Green Templeton College because I wanted that. So similar to most people here, I wanted a graduate focused, college. And then I also wanted where I would have a lot of MBAs. So I applied and I did get into the college. So the twist of the story then is I then got a scholarship from another college and that required me to move a college. So I then moved to Lineker College. So that's why I say it was mixed because I had like 2 college experiences, although I didn't give up one. But Lineker was my main college and I did like it a lot because it was also a graduate focused college as well. And it was a smaller college, so it was more close-knit than more of the bigger colleges. So like I knew the senior tutor by name, I knew the academic officers by name, and they knew me as well. So I had that close-knit relationship with them and they were always really willing to help. I think that was one thing I really enjoyed about Lineker College. When you reach out, there's always a way out for something that you need. So that was really great for me as well. There weren't that many MBAs in Lineker. I think we were only just like 7 within the college. So I got to like experience other people, but then again, because some of my MBA was during COVID, so I think I only had like a lot of interaction with them during the last like first term and then the last term. But overall, I enjoyed my experience, especially the close-knit college. So don't also look at the popular colleges, like the big ones and the popular ones, but also consider the smaller ones because you get a closer knit experience and it's kind of like a family in that kind of way.
Great, thank you. And then Isadora.
Yeah, sure. So mine was a little different because I applied by the last deadline. So I got into the very last round. And that meant that I didn't have many options to choose from. And so I decided not to choose a preferred option for colleges. I decided to just, okay, I'll see what happens and see what I get. And I got accepted into Somerville College, which, to be very honest, I hadn't heard of before. Again, it's not one of the big famous ones, but it was very, very good. So I quite liked my experience. And Somerville is very focused on, it has a history of women's rights, which is something that I'm very passionate about. And to me, that made it very interesting per se. And as some of my colleagues already said, it was interesting also to kind of get out of that MBA bubble. So there weren't that many MBAs at Somerville. I think there were only 4 of us. And I also got involved into rowing. So I never in my entire life thought I'd be an athletic person, but did rowing for the entire year, rowed from Oxford to London, which was an amazing experience. It was something that was provided by the college. Like I got into rowing because of the college, and it's ended up being something that I really enjoyed doing. And through my college, I also got involved with some other competitions, such as All Innovate, which happens, and it's an Oxford-wide competition for entrepreneurship. And I got placed by my college with a team of undergrads. And again, it was such a mixed bag. Everyone had really, really different backgrounds. I was working with biologists, doctors in the team to kind of get their vision and their product to life. And that was really, really interesting because that really allowed me to kind of take the skills that I was learning in class and MBA into a product or a project that was actually coming to life. So yeah, overall, it's very positive.
Okay, great, thank you. So yes, a range of different college experiences, and I think when it comes to choosing a college, it's really thinking about what it is that you want. So I know in terms of like Sabrina, she knew that she didn't want to be with undergraduates, and then also in terms of the process in choosing a college, like it seems from a few that they didn't get their first choice, but nonetheless they were happy with their college experience, and that you are able to get in and think about doing some activities that you may not think of, such as rowing. Rowing is very much very traditional Oxford, so that's great, thank you. So Isadora, I'm going to stay with you, and just in terms of the Oxford MBA and thinking about the focuses that we have in terms of the alliances. So we have the Africa Business Alliance, which I will come to you in a moment to fund me, but then we also have the Women in Leadership Alliance. So we're so as at school, we're very sort of committed to gender parity, and in fact this year we're really pleased that we reached 48% of our cohort is female, so we're still sort of striving towards that gender parity. And Isadora, I know that you were a co-chair of the Women's Leadership Alliance. So could you just please tell us a bit more about that experience and any of the activities that you can share with the men and women who are joining us today?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, I was just saying, it was interesting that my college choice ended up being a college that was so focused on women's rights, because it's always been a passion for me, and also really heavily contributed to my decision to come to Oxford, because I knew that the school had a commitment to that gender equality, gender parity. And yeah, so I volunteered to be a co-chair of the Women's Leadership Alliance during my time at Oxford, and it was a very positive experience too. So we basically, it was I was working with two of my colleagues, two other classmates, and we were kind of organizing and leading the activities for the Alliance throughout the year. We organized everything from just small events for our cohort. So we were engaging our male colleagues as allies, for example, trying to kind of educate of why we needed to talk about gender parity and talk about gender equality, and how our male colleagues could be allies to the cause. We also engaged with the help of the Career Center. We also engaged with employers. We hosted a lunch for Amazon. So for our female colleagues also that were looking into getting into an Amazon career, which was very interesting. And then we also ran a mentorship program pairing both MBAs with EMBA mentees and MBAs as mentors to some of the undergrads with the help of the overall Oxford Women in Business Alliance. So yeah, it was a pretty positive experience, and it was really great that we kind of got that approval from the school to kind of create our own projects and kind of run with it. So we'd show the objectives that we wanted to achieve, and we had the support from the school.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And then, so Tafunmi, so you were a member of the Oxford Africa Business Alliance. So could you tell the audience more about the Alliance and how they can get involved?
Yes, so the Oxford Africa Business Alliance, essentially it's like, I think what it is called. So anyone can be a member, not only if you're from Africa. And then also then there was the leadership council for the Africa Business Alliance, where you then apply to be part of the leadership body, and then you can kind of lead programs there. For me, I wasn't part of the leadership of the Business Alliance. I was on the student council as a leader there. But in terms of activities at the Alliance and how I was involved, I think one key thing was, or maybe two key things. One was definitely embedding the culture within the business school. So bringing talent, bringing experiences, bringing events from within the continent and expanding it out through the business school and through Oxford in itself. So we had a conference. So we had the Africa Business Forum within the year that we brought speakers from Africa to speak to the business school about different topics. So that was one key major event that was there. Then we had smaller events. We had fireside chats. We had informal dinners and informal events. And I think critically for us was to forge that alliance amongst ourselves, and then within us and other people within the school. And the dean Peter Tufano was really passionate about the Africa Alliance. So we collaborated with him a lot on things, in terms of either getting speakers or just supporting us generally, or attending one of our events. I remember before leaving, we had a final event with him only, and he shared some thoughts and advice with us before leaving. So I think that was really critical. I think another thing that was really great in my year was the Business Alliance also collaborated with the Africa Society within Oxford. So that was more Oxford-based beyond the business school base. And that was also great because it helped me meet new people. So people I would ordinarily not meet within the business school or within my college. So I could then meet other people across board. So that was really great for me in terms of the experience there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So Sunny, if we come to you next. So I know that you've moved between a few locations, sort of pre and post MBA. And in fact, you spoke about sort of that you've made the triple jump in terms of your career journey. So how does the Oxford network, how does it help facilitate some of these opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So my career has been quite international. Once I completed, once I even went during my MBA. One of the things that Oxford really does very well, and even before you start, since you are already all the students who are already in an admit, and you can actually feel that reaching out to alumni And the alumni go all the way, even before, you don't even know them personally. They will do everything they can to support you and to help you get their goals. So it won't be wrong to say that they are invested in your success, in your career, which is rather surprising, because once if you don't know someone, it's really surprising that someone would go to that extent. So this really helped me a lot, even when I was making those transitions. Before coming to Oxford, I was trying to chart out my career plan, what are the things I could do. I was trying to reach out to people, and people were really supportive. They would go to the extent of they would organize the alumni, they would organize the calls, they would take mock interviews. And these are people, these are not just the alumni who have passed out last year. These are alumni who have passed like 5 years from the time I have started. So that really gave some confidence when I was moving into the MBA. Doing the MBA, I had the same experience. The network really worked really well. I was fortunate enough to get interviews, even when it was like COVID times. It was very competitive, but because of the referrals, people will provide those first-hand knocking opportunities. So that was really wonderful. The second support that I really got from, I would say, the career team was in terms of the smaller things like mock interviews, getting your resumes, review of those cover letters. So I think that was I would say getting those reviews from someone who is already in consulting or have worked in consulting, because the career office is what they would do. The Oxford career site office, they would organize, they would have their career coaches. You have your the resumes, all of that reviewed. So that was really helpful. I think apart from that, it's just once you choose a stream, you work onto it, you network well. So that really helped. But I think these two things were game changers, especially from a career support perspective. Yeah. So, and just to add, it's not just the SAID alumni, it's also the Oxford wider network. So I'm not sure if somebody has moved to a country, but whatever. So when I moved to Dubai, there was already like a big network of Oxford SAID MBA, EMBAs, General Oxford pass out. So they would add you in the group, they would share opportunities, all of that. So it's very organic once you enter that circle. So.
Great, thank you. And yes, I think it often does get said you could go to anywhere in the world and you could be one person away from Oxford. So great, thank you, Sunny. Sabrina, if I come over to you, and it'd be great to hear about your experience. I believe that you did take part in the Impact Lab, which is part of the Scholl Centre for Social Entrepreneurship. So could you tell the audience a bit more about that experience and the resources that are available?
Yeah, definitely. So the Impact Lab is through the Scholl Centre, which kind of sits slightly tangential to the business school, but really integrates into a lot of our curriculum and opportunities and things. But the Impact Lab is an actual cohort of, when I went through, it was 50 students. I'm not sure if that number has changed, where you have to apply and get selected. And the whole goal of this is to provide different types of educational opportunities, networking, and additional support for impact-focused students. It was amazing. Bronwyn, who's the program manager for that, is just quite frankly one of the most thoughtful and just really just amazing humans I've ever met. She formerly came from the UN, and so just the perspective that she was bringing in around international collaboration and what that looks like in the impact sector and business was just invaluable. So how it worked for us is we had like a weekend retreat and really got to bond and get to know each other. And then some additional supports that we had were around like very impact career focused things. So like impact investing, impact consulting, skill sets that impact professionals might need that might not be general curriculum for the rest of the business school. So things like impact management and measurement and those things that you might hit in some of your electives, but having some really targeted support on those things. So it was just really, really amazing. So you basically get these opportunities to network with an additional group of people, business professionals. They're bringing in top industry leaders like 60 Decibels, Dahlberg, like all these big, huge impact names in the sector. And you get to have like a chance to network with them in a really small environment with only about 20, 30 students, depending on how they broke up that event. So that was really cool because it's, sometimes you go to the big networking events and there's hundreds of people there. It can be a little intimidating. And then in addition to that, it was just a really cool opportunity to get to see some of your classmates that maybe you don't have sections with, but that have really great commonalities. So when I went through there, you were in 4 main sections for the beginning part of the year to take your core courses, which was lovely. My section was wonderful and I loved all of them, but it was a really great opportunity in the Impact Lab to meet people that I wasn't necessarily taking courses with at the very beginning of the year. Yeah, so I think those were kind of like the big hallmarks of that. I will say, like, what I also really appreciated, that to be just like completely candid, I probably came in with one of the lower academic backgrounds. So the classroom felt really intimidating to me at the beginning of the year. You know, I had worked in project management, but actually prior to that, I was working in education. So I was a regional content coordinator and had like a really strong impact focus, and accounting and those heavy finance classes at the beginning of the year were really intimidating. So having a space where I felt really comfortable and were meeting people with really similar interests, like, just gave me that confidence to feel a little bit more tenacious in the classroom as well.
Great. Thank you. And then Alejandro, if we come over to you. So I know that you've just recently got a new job in consulting. So I know you're a couple of months in. But what electives or co-curricular activities would you recommend to candidates who are looking to work in consulting?
So, good question. No, because for consulting, there is, well, first of all, the OBNs, right? So like you have that first point of contact, you know, which is the consulting OBN, or the Oxford Business Network, which is student run, right? And I mean, it is just like, again, you know, your first, like the base of from where, you know, from then on, you can basically kind of like expand, whether whether it's in terms of like networking or in terms of abilities or practice, right? So obviously, if you want to get a job in consulting, casing and casework is essential. So, you know, from tips and techniques and organized workshops put together by the OBN and also the careers team, to just basically like getting a buddy and like just casing left and right. However, like, I think there are a couple other things that you can do that perhaps are not like your stereotypical like consulting pathway, but that they could give you, you know, give a bonus to your application, or like, you know, make you stronger in different areas. So like the ideation lab, right, for example, that was really interesting. Or like there are a couple of innovation workshops offered throughout the year that, although not directly related to strategy consulting, at least they give you an opportunity to explore different ways of thinking and different ways of solving problems, right? And at the end of the day, that's what consulting is all about. So I'd say, like, yes, you know, make sure that your casing is on point and like you will have the resources to do that, but also explore other different ways of solving problems, right? So actually, like Sabrina, like I do regret not like trying out for Impact Lab, because I knew that at first I knew, well, I mean, I'm not coming from Impact, so why should I give it a shot? But then afterwards, and like after talking to a lot of people who did it, I was like, wow, that sounded like incredibly fascinating. And again, you know, it's just a different way to think about the world's problems. And I think, you know, if you want to be a consultant, regardless of the discipline or the angle or the sector or whatever, I mean, it is better to have many tools to your toolbox, right? So that's my recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Alejandro. So we'll go over to some questions from the audience. So in fact, we've only got some more time left, so please do go ahead and submit any questions that you have to our panel. So I have a question from Aditi. So hi, Aditi. So Aditi also works in social impact between Delhi, Nairobi, and wants to understand the nature of support that the careers team at Said Business School offers in the sector of impact consulting. And she asks, what was your biggest aha moment with respect to learning more about impact during the program? So I think that question is actually, she has mentioned Sabrina. So Sabrina, I'm not sure if you want to, I feel like I know that you've mentioned a bit about the Impact Lab, but is there anything else that you want to add in terms of the Careers Development Centre?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I got my job through careers at Oxford, and would not have gotten it without that support. So full stop, like that was how I am currently employed, and very happy and love my job. So what's really cool about Oxford is they actually have a dedicated careers impact. Sorry, I'm butchering Dan's title, but basically Dan's entire job is impact career support. And he is one of the best humans. I talk to him frequently and really just, yeah, he's just still like a wonderful mentor and career advice giver. And it's just really amazing to see what he's done at Oxford. And quite frankly, I think that's like very unique to have somebody who's offering that support. And like, yes, careers, we still have consulting, we have finance. And what's really interesting about the way that they do that is like, I met with the finance advisor just as much as I met with Dan, so that I could kind of triangulate those two sectors and figure out how they were overlapping. Yeah, so I think like the big thing is, you know, Oxford has Oscar, which is this amazing career board where you're getting all these different opportunities. But to the point of alumni, my current boss was actually an alumni from Oxford from her undergrad and was looking for somebody to be into this space. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with the idea of impact investing, but it is really hard to get into any type of finance if you don't have a finance background, like full stop. It's quite frankly, like almost impossible. And it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't had Oxford's career support from the very beginning, giving me a reality check of like, yeah, if you want to move into impact investing, you need to start working on that now. And you need to do things like Mint, and you need to get your career resume out there. We need to start getting you in front of people. You need to start having networking conversations now, and you need to have an internship. And all of that guidance was communicated to me within the first like 6 weeks of being on campus. Would have never known. So I think, yeah, like Oxford does have an impact focus. Like obviously it's a general business school, but they have the supports that are really there for impact professionals to make pivots into really whatever they want to do. And that's a pretty big hallmark of the program.
Great, thank you, Sabrina. Does anyone else want to add about the Careers Development Centre and their experience whilst they were on the MBA in terms of how they utilised the Careers Centre?
Yeah, happy to share. I think similar to Sabrina as well, the careers team was very helpful for me. So in addition to the team focused on impact, there's also a team focused on consulting. There's a team focused on like global careers. There's like everything else that's not consulting, finance, or impact. And there was a team focused on finance, and you know, they would have like routine you know, conversations with you. I remember, because having to work in strategy, you kind of interview like you were doing consulting interviews. So like I had like routine practice, you know, practice case interviews with the careers team there, and they were very helpful. You know, and then also when I was thinking about internships, even when I was blatantly confused on what to do, they offered listening ears, even in terms of negotiations when I then got jobs, and then figuring out, oh, what's the right salary benchmark for me. So literally they're there to listen to you on anything, quite frankly. And you can eventually build like friends or long-term mentors there, just like Sabrina has said. So yeah, I think really great one to look up for.
Great, thank you. And I'm not sure if anyone else, if there's one more person who wants to just speak a bit about the Career Centre.
I'll just add something. It's like you need to also get to talk to your fellow students, right? Like I think it's super interesting how we often joked that like basically it was a job swap. It's like, oh, your job is cool, I want to do it. Oh, your job's cool, I want to do it, right? So then it's like, well, how do we do that transition, right? But I think obviously talking to your very capable, very diverse like students helps as a starting point. It's like, oh wow, like you are in this space, I want to learn more about it. So then when you actually go to the Career Center, it's like you at least have an idea of like what you need to do, and you know, the kind of people that you can talk to, and then they'll obviously help you connect you with the further MBA network or alumni network and like people that they know as well. But again, you know, I think it's always, I mean, it sounds super obvious, but we often forget that, you know, like the students can also know a lot about, you know, those jobs.
Okay, thank you. Some great insights. Okay, so please do submit. We've got just around 10 minutes left, so please do submit any questions that you have to our panel. I'm going to, oh, in fact, we've got a question. I get another one from Aditi. So So Sunny shared a bit about experience, but did anyone else find themselves in a similar position? How did you decide? Oh, this is an interesting question. How did you decide between Cambridge and Oxford? So, well, in fact, who did apply to Cambridge here on the panel? Let's hear.
I did. So I only applied to Oxford and Cambridge because those are the two schools that fit in my criteria. And I was luckily enough, I got accepted into both. And I was also lucky that I could visit both in the same week. So I did my interview at Cambridge, did my interview at Oxford through virtually, but then I came to visit the campus on that same week. And I think that the curriculum, so just looking at the opportunities, Oxford, I was really drawn to Oxford, again, because of that focus on impact, on the social innovation. So to me, it looks like it was a school that was focused on the future, but how we could kind of build a better future together. So it talked, a lot of the curriculum was around entrepreneurship. I didn't know if I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I knew that learning the skills would be interesting for the kind of professional that I wanted to be. And then when I visited the campus, I think when I got into Oxford, it was just, oh, okay, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to actually kind of build a career and take the next step. So yeah, I think that was mainly it. And also the support. So I got scholarships to both, but I thought that the team at Oxford was much more supportive as well when I was applying. So yeah, Oxford was always my first choice. And yeah, it ended up being the right choice, I think, for me.
Yes, they did. Great choice, Isadora. Anyone else? In fact, I know sort of earlier on in the panel, we spoke about why it is that you chose Oxford, but just thinking about, of course, that you're considering other schools. It may not be Cambridge, it may have been some other schools. Does anybody else on the panel just want to speak about that? And how they sort of factor in their decision process?
Yeah, I'll just resonate with what Isadora said. I felt, right from the application process, I felt a little drawn to Oxford, and then I was like really dorky. I was looking into curriculum, what I could learn, how I can, just go around the university, learning as much as I can, how it will, just strengthen my career and in general. And you sometimes, because Oxford and Cambridge, there are more similarities than there are differences. So, but then you just have to go with what you feel. You feel like yeah, you belong better there. And then obviously the resonating Isadora's experience, as well as what she mentioned, support in terms of that was generous. So that was actually a great thing that could have happened. So yeah. But there's no general framework. Everyone's experience would differ. There would be similar people who might have chosen Cambridge. So just go with what you decide. You're not making a wrong choice. So yeah, it's better for it's gonna work out. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're coming towards the end, so I think it'd be great just to hear about from everyone in terms of what was your highlight on the MBA. And I know that might be a difficult question to answer. There may have been a number of highlights, but if you could pick out one thing, Alejandro, if we come to you first.
Gosh, that is a really difficult question. I was lucky enough to go to MBATS, which is this athletic tournament that a bunch of European schools go to in Paris, and Oxford's been winning it for like the past 1,000,000 years, and we hope that that's the case for future years. But honestly, I think it was a really good experience. It was really fun to kind of like be with your MBA classmates in a very different environment and like, doing very different things. I mean, you're like playing dodgeball and like running and being very sporty, and also meeting other MBAs from other schools. But honestly, to me, I think that was the moment where I'm like, wow, we are a bunch of really cool people, and like we're all so close to each other, and like not they kind of see that. The other schools see that, actually, like they see how close we are, how like, yeah, we took it very seriously, but also we have a lot of fun. But I just felt very proud to be part of the, to the Oxford MBA, and I just felt really lucky to have that experience.
Great, thank you. And yes, great to hear that you were able to win the MBATs. And in fact, I did show an admitted student around the other day, and I did show her the most recent trophy. So we actually have a section in the school where you can see all of the trophies, all of the awards that the students have won. And yes, that is something. So if you are coming to Oxford, you do need to take part in the MBATs, and you need to ensure that you win and that we keep up that winning streak. Thank you, Alejandro. Tofunmi, what would you say was your highlight of the MBA?
I would think like a major highlight for me was serving as co-president of Student Council. It was a highlight in both like a good way and a challenging way, because I often say it's one of the hardest things I've had to do. Leading a diverse cohort in a very challenging time. But I think for me, I earned a degree in both business and in leadership at the time, I would say. So I think it was a highlight for me, navigating through that, becoming close friends with my co-president and then like other people on the team, getting to know like the wider class just by virtue of the position I was in. So that gave me, a chance to get to know people, get to experience people, both where they're happy and not happy. So I think that was a very major highlight for me. And I think also because of some of the things we're able to push through for the class, and then seeing the class being happy because some things were working by virtue of some of the hard work that we have put in. So I think that was a major highlight for me. I think another definitely was Capstone Week. So Capstone is typically the final week of your MBA, where there are like events, so dinners, tours, and then we have like the end of course ceremony, like the mini graduation for the business school. I think that was really great because it was just a time to just literally have fun, like from morning till evening. So I think, yeah, those two things were key highlights for me from the MBA.
Great, thank you. Isadora, what was your highlight?
Oh, that's hard. I feel like the whole year to me was very much a pinch me experience. So, I can't believe I'm hearing this incredibly famous, incredibly accomplished person talk to us at the Oxford Union. I can't believe that I'm rowing on the Thames every day at 6 a.m. Can't believe that we're winning the MBATs. We're also close again. I can't believe that we have access to amazing faculty and great electives and all that. But I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'll say that a highlight of my experience was actually last night in London. I'm still very, very close to my MBA friends. We're a very tight-knit community here in London. And last night, I mean, we see each other, I don't know, 5 times a week, I guess, at this point, or talk to each other every day. And just last night, we had a dinner. And at one moment, we were talking about it, right, about our experience and our lives and all that. And it felt so surreal to me. Like, okay, I'm surrounded by some of my closest friends, like the closest friend I've ever had in my entire life. And everyone has amazing, incredible careers. They're all highly accomplished people, and we're still so close together. And it's all because of the experience that we had together at Oxford. So I know that's not a highlight of the Oxford experience per se, but it's something that Oxford brought to me. And for that, I'm very thankful.
Oh no, that's great. I really like that. And it's great to hear sort of still a few years after you've graduated that you're still having those highlights and having those experiences, and you're still thinking about the Oxford MBA.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Sunny, if we can hear from you next.
Well, extremely difficult to choose. But I mean, I would go slightly emotional here and would say my highlight was actually the Capstone Week. So our class was actually the class which was, COVID happened, Sabrina knows. And then we didn't had our capstone for 2 years, and then we had capstone this year. And one of the things that it was like a blessing in disguise, because if the capstone would have happened the same year and same as graduation, it would have never been possible for me to, fly my parents out and come here and then, have them take the certificates and all of that, get the degree. Because it happened after 2 years, I was able to, have a lovely trip. And then I was married as well at that time with my wife, my parents, and they were like really proud when they came here. Although it's not like really the highlight of the experience, that was something that I really wanted to do, and that was really like a good moment. I mean, like highlight of the experience for me. Yeah. So.
Thank you, Sunny. And yes, it was great that we were able to get your cohort back for capstone sort of just a few months ago. And then finally, Sabrina, if we can hear from you.
Yeah, perfect. I think the nice thing about going last on this one is I can kind of just say like echo to everyone else and add in another one, but completely agree with Isadora and Sunny. I talk to my cohort all the time. Sunny can attest our group chat is always live and happening. So we're always connected, which in our capstone was just the most amazing thing. We basically got a built-in reunion that was already paid for. So that was really lovely. But I think just to take like a different spin, I would say like the social and like emotional and the relationships were definitely my number one, but just to add something to it, I've never been so intellectually stimulated in my life. Honestly, like as you're walking around Oxford, you're in this environment where you have the opportunity to be in a lecture where you're learning about supply chains in India. And then that night you're going to a lecture that's being hosted by Conan O'Brien that is all about comedy and how that works, right? And then you just get these points of exposure that you never thought you would have or that you needed, but you did. And then to the points around like the relationships you're building, just sitting in the cafeteria, it was like a mini UN event. You've got people from 64 countries, you're learning from them. Our Chinese classmates hosted a Chinese New Year celebration and taught us their traditions. And there's Diwali party, there's just like so many amazing things. And your brain is being all fronts and firing. And I've just got a completely different worldview that I didn't know that I needed, but I definitely did.
That's great. Thank you, Sabrina. So I think sadly we have come to the end of our time. So a big thank you to our panel. So a big thank you to Isadora, Sunny, Sabrina, Tiffany, and Alejandro. It was great to hear about your experiences. So thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who has attended. So we are coming towards the end of the experience event. We do have a networking session that's going to take place at 4 p.m. So hope to see many of you there. But otherwise, thank you so much and goodbye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Nandip, for organizing, and congratulations to everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you all.
Congrats. Goodbye. Great to see you.